stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to World Pro Racing. We hope you're all keeping safe and well. And can it really be the fact that we're now into our 5th year here at World Pro Racing? If you didn't notice on our social media earlier on that World Pro Racing was created back in 2017 by two people that had a dream, and look where it's got us to now. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, back with you again for Tuesday night's casual racing action. And this time we're in Salinas in Monterey at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for GT4 action this evening. This simply would not be possible without all our supporters and partners as well. Gaming Malta, this stream being powered by our good friends at Melita, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, and AMD. A warm welcome to you all watching on the respective World Pro Racing Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube streams, and also to our good friends over at TVM Malta, TVM Sport in Malta, Motorsport.tv, and eSports TV. Now, the format is going to be slightly switched up a little bit this evening. We still have the usual 15 minutes qualifying session, 15 minutes practice, and we have a half-hour race around this fantastic circuit. However, the drivers have to have a mandatory pit stop, which includes a mandatory driver tyre change on the car. So these drivers will really be put under pressure this evening here on World Pro Racing. So I think, really, without further ado, shall we see if we can head trackside and see what is going on with free practice? It's a 15-minute session here at Laguna Seca, and we have quite a few familiar faces. Luke Whitehead back in action after some technical issues last week or so. But as you can see, there are around about 23 or so cars. We have nigh on a 30-strong grid this evening. So Luke Whitehead running in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4, and quite a few drivers going with the Aston Martin. Dan Ginchard, Marcus Littlewood, who won the casual race just a week ago at Zolder. There's Nathan Musud. You normally might find him helping with the broadcast. Well, he's decided to scratch that racing itch tonight in the number 19 GT Omega RPM Esports Mercedes AMG GT4, and he joins good friend and also teammates at GT Omega RPM Esports. Of course, we've got Sheldon Scott Muscat. So now down the hill. This track originally opened back in 1957 at a construction cost. Back at that time, it's quite a lot of money. $1.5 million US. The racetrack itself is 2.238 miles, 3.602 kilometers, with a 55 meter or 180 feet elevation change as the front axle of Marcus Littlewood's car goes a bit skywards, let's say, and that was in the approach through into what was turn 6 before the run down the Rahal Straight. And Laguna Seca, it's Spanish for dry lagoon, and it gets very hot and heated here at in Salinas in Monterey. Here is no exception. 25 degrees air temperature, 25 degrees track temperature. And there is one of our another usual suspects from Hungary, Gergely Kunsabo, in one of the cars that I've got a bit of a penchant for as a sports car fan, the Alpine A110 GT4. And Kunsabo currently showing 12th on the timesheets at the moment. And there is also another familiar name that you might recognise. Multiple casual race winner last season, Germany's Jan-Niklas Ebrich, and decides to go for good measure with a one of Munich's finest, the BMW M4 GT4, a 2.8 litre flat 6 twin M-Power turbocharged engine. You can hear that notable M-Power roar from the twin tailpipes of that BMW. So he now makes his way around the final corner as we go on board with the German, up to third, up to fourth gear. Speed now increasing over 180 kilometers an hour across the start-finish line. All the way down, hitting the brakes hard through turn 1 into the Andretti hairpin. Here at turn 2, down the gears to second. Tight apex there, up to third, short shifting through the apex of the corner. As we've got about 5 minutes of this session already completed. Looks like a bit of opposite correction there from Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Going through the right-hander that looked to be through turn 3. And the back end stepped out to the left and the German caught it quite nicely there. Into the left at 5, down from 4th gear into 3rd. About 110 kph on the apex and on the exit. As there looks to be another car just up ahead. Seems like 4 of the drivers have decided to go for the venerable Alpine. At the moment, Luke Whitehead leading Dan Ginchard, who was on the verge of possibly getting a podium last time out at the GT3 casual race last week at Zolder. 0.2 of a second adrift. Marcus Littlewood a further 10th adrift, and then it's Nathan Thomas and Alex Johnston. So Littlewood, Thomas and Johnston rounded out the podium last time, with Littlewood effectively drawing first blood. Ebrich, at the moment, currently P7 behind Sheldon Scott Muscat. We've got the likes of Vishal Patel, Daniel Strimer. There's Vishal Patel, also one of the PC Boys racing crew. And that thunderous roar from that car. Doesn't it sound glorious, ladies and gentlemen? Don't forget, you can get registered with us and be part of our community here at World Pro Racing. WorldProRacing.com is our official website. We are currently in the midst of, later on this week, actually heading to Kyalami for the second round of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series, taking place this coming Friday on the 22nd of January at 8:30 p.m. Central European Time and 7:30 p.m. UK time, with your commentators Jake Sperry and Kieran McGinley. So there is Ben Norton in the number 15, another driver that has gone with the Alpine. Only one McLaren I spot, and also one Ginetta. So seems like Woking's finest, also up north's finest, not getting much of a love in here. There's Jamsran in the number 17. Audi is currently P17. There's Christopher Lagerson. Normally runs in the Lexus RCF GT3 whenever we have GT3 casual racing. We do also have to let you know about the event that's going to happen a week from now. The 90-minute multi-class, so GT3 and GT4 action at the Nürburgring, which is the 26th of January, where I'll be joined once again by my good German compadre, Nico Hilbrandt. Will be on commentary duty for that one in just a week's time. Again, as always, on World Pro Racing, it's 8:30 p.m. Central European Time or 7:30 p.m. UK time when the action gets underway. There's Sheldon Scott Muscat. He's running P4 in the number 14. And that's one of the things I like about seeing some of the drivers develop here on World Pro Racing, especially the likes of Sheldon Scott Muscat, where he'll stick with the same machinery. And he sticks with GT3, with a Mercedes in GT3 here on World Pro Racing, and also does the same with GT4. It's the highest place of the Mercedes currently rolling P4, whereas at the moment it is an Aston Martin. Clean sweep of the top 3 as one of the Mercedes just behind goes wide. So that could have been Stromer possibly, who's also running in the GT Omega RPM Esports, and it was the case, the number 2 Mercedes. So 6.25 minutes still to go here at this circuit, which has hosted the likes of the IndyCar Series, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the Moto America Superbike Speed Fest. It's also hosted the likes of the Hyundai Monterey Sports Car Championship, the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion, which started back in 2019, the FIM World Superbike Championship, the Pirelli World Challenge, and also the Intercontinental GT Challenge of California, 8 hours. MotoGP between 88 and 91, the 93 to 94, and then it had a good run from 2005 to 2013, and also hosts the SCCA National Championship runoffs. The race lap record held by Team at the time in 2000 by Team Penske's Helio Castroneves, amongst other drivers. So Luke Whitehead in the number 3, leading the way. So at the moment it is Whitehead from Ginchard, Littlewood, Muscat, Johnston, Thomas, Strumer, Ebrich, Patel, Nathan Mifsud doing a good job in 10th place. There is Daniel Ginchard in the number 37 Aston Martin. Ohak and Cassis Salu round out the top 12 ahead of Kunsabo. And then we have got Kirsten from GT Omega RPM Esports rounding out the top 14 ahead of Ben Norton. Oscar Saristo from Finland. Then we have Cornelius Yaziunas. There's another familiar face as well, Jamsran in the number 17 Audi, running 18th, as Kunsabo's put it into the pits. Janar Titus from the Team Cruising Missiles outfit, currently running P19 in the 66. Dan Hackett in the number 5 Aston Martin, rounding out the top 20, ahead of Lagertsen, Mats Valden. And there is Mats Valden in the number 12 570S GT4. Swede gets a little bit wide there. Well, there's a couple of cars here on this field that there's a couple of cars from this DLC on Assetto Corsa Competizione that isn't really being used. One of which is the fearsome Maserati, which is the only car on this game that has no ABS, no traction control. The KTM Crossbow GT4 not showing here. Mats Valden takes a bit of a rallycross step there. Does a bit of a Stoner v Rossi back in the late 2000s through the corkscrew. So that's effectively the equivalent of a 5.5-story drop from crest down to the chasm at the bottom. Nathaniel Thomas running the 1:30.4s at the minute. He's currently running P4, so has gone a little bit quicker than Sheldon Scott Muscat. There's Tanel Kassis-Salu from Estonia as we ride on board the number 88. And if we see a move like that here in this race, that's someone that's got to have absolute guts and intestinal fortitude right there to put that round to the outside of somebody in the Andretti hairpin, as the Mercedes gets a bit of a tail end snap to the left hand side just in front. Casisalo trying to keep it nice and planted, but runs a little bit wide coming out of what would have been turn 4. So the Estonian now goes into the next left-hander at 5 before going up the hill. Still running P13. Into the left at 6, there's Gergely Kunsabo in the Alpine. The Alpine, a more nimble car than a lot of the cars on here, so the straight line speed is... Oh! Someone's definitely tagged the barrier, and that was an Aston Martin, I believe, up front. So Gergely Kunsabo having a good run. Ben Norton is the quickest of the quartet of Alpine A110 GT4s at the moment. And Luke Whitehead is now the only driver to go sub 1 minute 30. Ginchard nearly 0.3 of a second in drift. Marcus Littlewood 0.33 behind. And then it's a further 1.11 seconds back to Nathan Thomas. Sheldon Scott Muscat rounds out the top 5, covered by half a second, with Alex Johnston just 21 seconds off of the GT Omega RPM Esports driver. As we fast approach the conclusion of this session, Itamar Yativ in the number 30 Mercedes doing a good job, a 1 minute 31.170 in the Mercedes GT4, currently running P7, but Sheldon Scott Muscat still the best of a Faltabach's finest here at Laguna Seca, as we head into the last 60 seconds of this free practice session before we get underway with qualifying. Christopher Lagertsen has now opted to change into the has decided to come out of the KTM, and that was definitely not how you exit the pits, and touches the dirt and spins the back end around. So there's David Ohak in the number 13 Mercedes. That's definitely brightly coloured. I think if you had Google Maps on that car, that looks like one of Eddie Jordan's really tasteless shirts in Formula 1. As number 13 makes its way down the corkscrew, takes a lot of the inside curb on the exit. As now they head through Rainey's turn 9. into the left at 10 before one more corner. They go all the way down the gearbox. Left hand down. And then straight away come across the line. Checkered flag is out for the session. That is it here for free practice at Laguna Seca for the World Pro Racing GT4 at Laguna Seca Casual Race. And a lot of drivers have already put themselves into the pit lane. So Luke Whitehead, top of the timesheets, ahead of Dan Ginchard, Marcus Littlewood, Nathan Thomas, Sheldon Scott Muscat, Alex Johnson, Itmar Yativ. Then you've got Daniel Strumer, Jan-Niklas Ebrich, and Vishal Patel rounding out the top 10, covered by 1.359 seconds. But very shortly, we'll be heading back to the circuit itself for qualification. So very interesting to see that Aston Martin leading the way here at Laguna Seca for the first GT4 casual race of 2021. We'd like to say a big thank you for you all for joining us here this evening. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series Season 2. The Pro class will go back into action, as will the AM class, but on the broadcast here on World Pro Racing, we'll be concentrating on the Pro class itself. There is a €500 prize fund, as there was in Season 1 for the Pro category only, with the overall champion for Season 2 taking home a €250 cash prize. So what can we expect in qualifying? Well, that depends on how hard the drivers want to push, because as they say in racing, times for show, points to go. And the pit stop here at Laguna Seca will be incredibly, incredibly crucial. So I think let's go back to the track and head into timed qualifying. So the drivers now will start to make their way out onto the circuit, and the track temperature has increased. It's still going to be nice and sunny here in good old California, and no dreaming here, no California dreaming for any of the competitors, because they have to put the throttle down to the floor, hit every single apex at the right point, turn the car in, rotate and power out, see if that can help them. So Luke Whitehead, one of the first drivers, if not the first driver out of the field to get things going here in qualifying. Track temperature now has increased by a degree. So the server local time is 8:01 AM. As Whitehead now will be the first one to brave the corkscrew, but let's not forget they've got to get these tyres and brakes up to temperature. They've got to start getting into the rhythm of sealing themselves, getting ready for a hot lap. And as the track will evolve, there's no wind, there's no breeze, it's sunshine for the next half an hour, so for the next 13.5 minutes of qualifying, we'll be absolutely fine here. As now Luke Whitehead comes out of turn number 11. We'll go on board, we'll stay with him for a moment as we now increase the speed in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4. Across the line at over 185 kph, up into 5th gear at the moment. And now from just over 210 k's, down from 5th round to 2nd gear, he'll come through the Andretti hairpin. A little bit of correction there. Tyres, I think, might not still be 100% up to temp as he goes through the right-hander at turn 3. Under the Cooper Tyres bridge, up to 4th. Lifting off there, letting the car do a bit of the work and allowing the engine to brake as opposed to the brakes on the car itself. He's now pushing the accelerator into the left-hander at turn 5. And goes from 5th to 3rd, up to 4th now. The engines, as they are turbocharged, will hopefully get will possibly have now. That was an aborted lap run and a half, if ever I saw it. Luke Whitehead going too hot into turn 6. There's Dan Ginchard in the number 37, one of the many PC Boys drivers that we actually have. It was a PC Boys 1-2-3 clean sweep at the GT3 casual race at Zolder last week. There's Alex Johnston. Oh, he does a Matthias Ekstrom and rally crosses, and one of the Mercedes goes past. There's Mats Valden in the number 12 McLaren, being followed, I think that might be by Daniel Strumer, I believe, if that's the number 2. They go through Rainey's. Valden runs a bit wide. Oh, and it's going to kick up a little bit of dust, and that was Sheldon Scott Muscat behind him in the number 14 Mercedes. So let's see what the GT Omega RPM Esports driver has in his pocket and what cards he's going to play close to his chest and then reveal at a moment's notice as if it was a casino table that he was playing on rather than a simulator. Goes P2, 1 minute 30.702. Well, that was Nathan Mifsud. He's got it. He's the one that's put it on provisional pole with just under 4 minutes in the session completed. 1 minute 30.7. Vishal Patel in the 95 has gone up to second. Nathan Thomas in third. David Ohak rounds out the top four. There's Jan-Niklas Ebrich. I will be honest with you. I've seen a couple of liveries that have got very, very bright colours, and the first thing that livery on that BMW reminds me of, I will be completely honest, is Neapolitan ice cream. But I've got to keep my sugar craving at bay whilst we're concentrating on all this action. As we keep an eye on Luke Whitehead, he looks a bit more planted in that Aston Martin now after that first initial attempt on a hot lap. So now the number 3 Aston Martin will come through into turn 11. Tight on the apex, run the car a little bit wide to the right. And then floor the throttle, mash it to the ground. He's going to come across the line. Where does Luke Whitehead factor into this? Goes P1, 1 minute 29.646. Oh my goodness me. That's a second quicker than Nathan Mifsud. That is absolutely ridiculous. Luke Whitehead pulled that one out of the bag like stealing candy from a baby. And now the likes of Ginchard, Mifsud, Stremer, Muscat now responds and goes P2 in the number 14. Ginchard now drops to 4th. So can the number 37, based out of the UK, he comes out of the final corner, T11, and the Aston Martin winds its way up towards the line. Where does Ginchard factor in? 1 minute 30.792, so no improvement from Dan Ginchard in terms of position. Jan-Niklas Ebrich, in the meantime, is winding up the wick on that BMW. He's got it to P8 in the moment on a 131.2, but with Luke Whitehead running in the 136s, that is going to be ridiculous, but it is about the race itself. So Ebrich, yeah, this lap isn't going to be quick enough, but he goes P6, a 1 minute 31.023. That BMW, I think a lot of cars definitely don't have as much as an advantage as the Aston Martin. But at the moment, the Mercedes are trying... Oh! The Stremer has gone P2. Walden in the sole McLaren down in 21st ahead of Christopher Leigretson at the minute. So, Falterbach is definitely trying to get under the skin of Aston Martin at the moment, and they've done that with 3 drivers in the top 5. So it's Aston leads from Mercedes, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Mercedes. And then Littlewood goes up into P2. So this is where it's going to get rather interesting. Yellow flags out on the circuit at the moment. Here in qualifying, just over 8 minutes to go. Max Walden stays in 23rd for the minute. Alex Johnson down in 24th position. Jan-Niklas Ebrich trying to hustle that car around the circuit as best as humanly possible. Jamson comes across the line. P17 for the number 17 Audi R8 LMS GT4. Ebrich in the BMW. Now coming through T11 in the 299 BMW M4 GT4. Won multiple casual races last year. And goes P2, 1 minute 30.159. That car is definitely one to watch. That is the dark horse of the field. Stremer goes from 8th to P5 on a 1 minute 30.525. But Whitehead has the lead. Ebrich, Littlewood, Muscat, Stremer, Mifsud, Ginchard. There's Cassisalu rounding out the top 16. And he's on a 132.265. Can the Estonian do any better this time around? The 88 Aston Martin comes across the line. P14, 1 minute 31.494. So with just 6 3/4 minutes left to go, let's see what the times are between the individuals out on track at the moment. So 1 minute 29.535 by Luke Whitehead. Jan-Niklas Ebrich is 0.624 ahead, behind him. And then it's a further Crikey, that's 48 thousandths between Ebrich and Littlewood. Muscat, Stremer and Mifsud make it a roundup of the top 6 thanks to Mercedes power. Then Ginchard, Patel, Norton and Johnston rounding out the top 10 by 1.560 seconds. Casisalu has to have a little bit more in the pocket. Ginchard running towards the line. Goes P5, 1 minute 30.465. So the gaps between drivers, especially in the top 6, now are quite literally changing. Whitehead and Ebrich biding their time. Will they go out for another run? Well, Marcus Littlewood feels it's more pertinent to stay out on the circuit, and the best Alpine out of the quartet at the moment is Ben Norton, a surprising 9th place at the moment. I'm sure that he's quite happy with that at the minute, but obviously in the race it could be something completely different altogether. We stay on board with Marcus Littlewood for the moment. Down into the right-hander at T10, and you can see how much Marcus is wrestling with this steering wheel at the moment. Into turn 1, out of the final corner, puts the pedal to the metal in the Aston Martin, now goes towards the finish line, stays P3. Ben Norton goes P8 and improves yet again as more of the PC boys Aston Martins start flooding their way out onto the circuit. One is Alex Johnston in the 248. The other one, I believe, is possibly that. Well, that's Nathan Thomas. And Thomas currently down in P12. So we're into the last 4 3/4 minutes. Everyone now starting to try and put their best foot forward here in qualifying. First ever GT4 casual race here on World Pro Racing. As they say, times for show, points to go. Jamsran runs wide, coming off of the Andretti hairpin as Marcus Littlewood now pushing that Aston Martin to adhesion limit breaking point, going through into the corkscrew, turns 8A and 8B, down the hill, now into the left at Rainey's, turn 9, great aerial shot. A big thank you to Justin Mifsud, our broadcast director. Also, we've got our race director, Adrian Figalo, and our race steward, George Muscat. They will be looking over proceedings and seeing whether lap times will be deleted if they have exceeded track limits, and they'll be taking a close eye over the half-hour race. Littlewood comes out of the final corner and pushes that Aston Martin once again across the line. P2 for the Brits, 1 minute 30.114. And then decides to hit the escape button after pulling off to the left-hand side. Daniel Ginchard looking to try and find a bit more pace in that number 37 Aston Martin. He's currently P5 at the moment. Littlewood up into second. So good effort from Littlewood. Has Ginchard got the bit firmly between the teeth. It's one of the many karting drivers that I have seen fill their time with sim racing, and it's good to see him here on World Pro Racing. Know him and his family very, very well indeed. So into the left-hander at turn 11. Is Ginchard going to improve? We're about to find out as he hurdles his way in the Aston Martin to the finish line. Close, but not close enough. That was a 1 minute 30.5. About half a tenth off of his best effort so far, which keeps him P5 in the minute. As Ohak goes across the line and puts in a 1 minute 31.404. Alex Johnston. Johnston still has some work to do in the 248 Aston Martin. And as you can see how hard that car's being pushed. Oh! Way, way off track for Alex Johnston there. And that was going through turn 10. Sheldon Scott Muscat. It's not that... He's about 7 tenths off of Luke Whitehead, who has felt that, considering he's over 6 tenths up on a lot of the field, well, Sheldon Scott Muscat still has got time after this one. It's the GT Omega RPM Esports car. The number 14 Mercedes heads into the corkscrew, down the gears. Back end's trying to twitch out, and that's not going to be happening under Sheldon Scott Muscat's watch, as he now goes through Rainey's at turn 9, tight onto the apex. Now hard on the brakes. Through turn 10. And he will still have time for another flying lap at the very least. Out of the final corner comes the number 14 Mercedes. So Sheldon Scott Muscat. Can he get the run on the top 3 here in qualifying? Goes P2, 1 minute 30.099. Oh, you could just see that Sheldon Scott Muscat was on the limit of adhesion in that qualifying run. And he's still got time if he so chooses. Alex Johnston, fast running out of time now, is the 248 as one of the Alpines. Could that have been... I'm not too sure. That might have been Oscar Saristo, possibly. That might have gone off there. Or Janar Titus, as Johnston goes bunny hopping through the second part of the corkscrew on the exit thereof. So we're coming into the last 45 seconds of qualifying. Luke Whitehead leads. Muscat, Littlewood, Ebrich, Ginchard. Ginchard's called it a day, as has Norton. Itmar Yativ has also done the same, but Alex Johnston now. Will he get into the top 10 at the very least here in qualifying? He does, and he goes P5. Sterling effort from the 248 Aston Martin, a 1 minute 30.4. It has been a difficult one here for Gurgely Kunsabo in the Alpine, as the KTM of Lagertsen decides it fancies a change of scenery, as the timer now counting down. Kunsabo crosses the line with 3 seconds to go and could still have a run in qualifying, as Oscar Saristo still rounds out the top 20. But the checkered flag is out for the session. A lot of drivers now, I think, might just have to sort of bite their tongue a little bit and call it a day. But Marcus Littlewood needs to keep an eye on him at the minute. Oh, goes sideways through turn 3. Oh, that would have lost Littlewood at least a tenth or maybe 2 tenths through that side, that Scandinavian flick a la Stig Blomqvist. Going through the left-hander. Johnston still fancies another run, and he's coming through Rainey's as we speak, turn 9. So as long as he doesn't muck it up in the braking zone here like he did a couple of laps ago, that's nice and tidy through turn 10. As the 248 Aston Martin comes out of the final corner as one of the Mercedes parks it into the pits. This could be a really good run if Alex Johnston has got it all together in the dying moments. No, not quite. Well, that was his best effort, a 1 minute 30.165. But Luke Whitehead with the 1 minute 29.535 takes pole position in that session ahead of Sheldon Scott Muscat, Marcus Littlewood, and Jan-Niklas Ebrich rounding out the top 4. Well, that was an intense qualifying session, wasn't it, for GT4? But now the real test happens. We've got a 30-minute race, mandatory pit stop. All drivers must have tyres changed on their car in this stop. And what this is really going to change is the dynamic of the casual races. You know, we've seen flat-out sprints at Kyalami in GT4. We're now going to see a different new game to play. And I think very shortly we should hopefully be heading trackside to get an idea of where things stand. Because the biggest thing is that if the drivers can push even crazier than before, and that's the biggest thing here. Once you've got a fresh set of boots, the biggest thing that you've got to remember coming out of the pits is that you are going to be on cold tyres. You're going to need to get them up to temperature within 2 to 3 laps and then push. There's no fuel required, so I would think drivers will probably be more sensible to have pretty much a full tank of fuel in the car. But ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste any more moments, shall we? Let's head trackside and see if we can keep an eyes on our grid, because we are going to have a very short formation, as we always do here on World Pro Racing, as we are set to get underway for the first GT4 casual race of 2021. And what a place our team has decided to provide us with. So we're just under a minute away from the session starting. So the drivers will then be instructed to get underway as we are approaching green flag conditions, and the track temperature again, since free practice, has jumped another 3 degrees in total. So that's going to make it rather interesting. So your grid is as follows. It will be Whitehead from Muscat on the front row, with Whitehead on pole. Littlewood and Ebrich, row 2. Johnston and Ginchard, row 3. Strumer and Thomas, row 4. Mifsud and Norton round out the top 10 positions ahead of Patel and Yativ, that's row 6. Then you've got Ohak in the number 13, and then Kirsten from GT Omega RPM Esports in the number 20. That's row 7, ahead of Tanel Kasesalu, Dan Hackett, Oscar Saristo, Cornelius Yaziunas, Gergely Kunsabo. Then you've got Jamsran, Titus, Albrecht, Lagritsen. As now we get things underway. Half an hour of GT4 casual racing here at Laguna Seca as they now will start to descend through the corkscrew. And it will be down to Whitehead and Muscat to control the pace. Anyone that will be found at a position in the rolling start 2x2 formation as they head towards the start-finish line will be given an automatic drive-through, which they will have to serve within 3 laps of that penalty being instigated, unless that is obviously rescinded by race control. So, who's your money on tonight? Well, my money is on one thing, and one thing only. Fantastic racing action. GT4 machinery, here in Silas Monterey in California. Of course, one particular famous actor was the Governator here. Remember Arnold Schwarzenegger? Well, we've got our own Governators on this circuit right here, right now. So, Whitehead and Muscat start to lead the field out of turn number 11. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are we steady? Well, they're going to keep us waiting because, ladies and gentlemen, here at Laguna Seca, it is time to go green, green, green. We are off and racing here on World Pro Racing. This is the run down to the Andretti hairpin for the first time. Great start by Luke Whitehead. Littlewood getting the jump on Ebrich as Johnson looks up the inside of the BMW into the Andretti hairpin for the first time. Ebrich runs out a little bit wide. He's got the likes of Ginchard and Stremer not too far behind as they head into turn 3. Lightning start from Luke Whitehead. He's absolutely nailed it. And Marcus Littlewood, I think, is up into second position at the moment. Johnston rounds out the top 3. And a little bit further back, Tanel Kasesalu looking up the inside of Itmar Yativ. But the Mercedes holds on for the moment. And then they have the likes of Yaziunas not too far behind. Matthias Albrecht in the Carmel Racing 87. Fellow countryman to Tanel Kasesalu. Down a little bit further down the order. Down in 22nd position with Lagritsen, the sole KTM, down in 23rd position. And Mats Velden has dropped off the timing tower on the left-hand side as we go into the corkscrew for the first time. Whitehead, Littlewood and Johnson. Aston Martin leading the way in a 1-2-3, followed by Falterbach's finest with the number 14 of Sheldon Scott Muscat's Mercedes, and Munich's finest in the form of Jan-Niklas Ebrich's 299 BMW M4. So Whitehead has about a 6-car length lead going through turn 11. Track temperature now starting to increase as Ben Norton loses out of position to Nathan Mifsud. Got Kirsten just behind Mifsud's teammate as they now come across the line. And the Mercedes definitely having the legs on the Alpine. And we go on board with Nathan Mifsud. Norton looking cheekily up the inside in the Alpine. As Hackett up into 12th place now, behind the number 20 Mercedes of Kirsten. And someone definitely kicked up the dust. There might have been Patel or Mifsud just up ahead that literally got flung in the direction. And it looks like the 20 Mercedes also, the 19 Mercedes of Nathan Mifsud actually had that happen as well as they go into the next left-hander. This is turn 5. It's David Ohak losing a position to Itmar Yativ there. That's 13th. Saristo and Kunsabo. Oh, now I wonder, has there been a problem for the pair of them? Because the Alpine, not the strongest car around here in terms of straight line speed, is now Kasesalu coming under pressure from... and that's going into the corkscrew. 3 into 1 does not necessarily go unless you make it line astern through the corkscrew. Great driving there. Great driving from Stremer, who's on the recovery trail and goes up the inside of Dan Hackett up into 15th. Kasesalu not too far behind in the 88, Aston Martin. So a lot of drivers actually serving the pit stop early. So the drivers now, and there's the 66 is coming. That's Titus that has come in. Whitehead loses out big time. Littlewood up the inside like a rat up a drain pipe. God, Whitehead actually drifted wide coming through the Andretti hairpin, and that opened the door for Marcus Littlewood, but Whitehead knew the move was coming. But meanwhile, look at this four-way scrap for position, and Strumer at the back end of this. So Patel gets a 5-second time penalty for an incident with car number 2. That was Strumer on the first for an incident. So Strumer got collected by Patel, and Patel gets a 5-second time penalty added to the total race time. And there is Patel. So Patel could do one thing: get into the pits early, get that 5-second time penalty out of the way, and then doesn't have to worry about it. For those that might remember the end of year race where Yannick Ruoff was on the verge of getting a win at the end of the season, did a splash and dash at the end of the race on, I think it was with 1 or 2 laps to go. As soon as he hit the pits, the 5-second time penalty got instigated through the automatic settings on the pit lane as Jan Ardaitis comes out of the pits, and that's Gergely Kunsaber just up ahead. As now it's Mercedes v Mercedes coming out of turn 11. So, and there's Ginchard now battling away with Thomas, and they've got Ebrich just up ahead. And look at the gaps between first to 7th position. There's not that much in it. So 5 minutes down, 25 to go. So a lot of the drivers have decided to pit early, but there will be drivers that will be going into. They'll do the long haul. They'll do what we call a bit of the double duty or the graveyard shift, where you go deep into the race and really wait. But one of the biggest things here is that if you use the tyres at their optimum, as the track temperature now is increased to 29 degrees Celsius, as Albrecht fancied a move, I think, well, that was Saristo up the inside of Albrecht. Ginchard now being hustled by Thomas as, oh, now that was a track cut and a half from Jan-Niklas Ebrich. He's got to let them catch up. That was definitely a track cut advantage, I think, but he might have just outbraked himself. Now Ginchard scrabbling all over the back end of Jan-Niklas Ebrich. We go on board with the number 37. Now they're coming down. Oh! Now that was a move and a half from Thomas. Oh, but he gets attacked from behind and hits the barriers, courtesy of Jan-Niklas Ebrich, going into turn 11. Alex Johnson on the podium last week now gets thrown a curveball. I'm sure that might be investigated by race control. But I think the way that Thomas decided to just cut across the nose of Jan-Niklas Ebrich, that's going to be one that I'm going to lead to the stewards there. I can't. It was 1 of one and 500 of the other. So 23.5 minutes still to go. Cornelius Yazionas, as there is definitely there's Patel battling away with Yativ, and yeah, you can now see that's Nathan Thomas's front end, the clamshell bonnet looking rather second hand, and the alignment on that bumper definitely not tracking true. So he's probably working with damage. As tank slapper for Ohak, and he hits Strumer. He just loses the back end on the Mercedes, and Strumer gets a little tag on the right hand door. And then there is Yazionas just behind the number 2. So Strumer in the wars again for the second time within the first 10 minutes of this race. Jan-Niklas Ebrich still fending off Daniel Ginchard as they come through the corkscrew. Tanel Kasisalu goes wide coming out of T11. And then Oscar Saristo fancies an opportunity to pass the Estonian as Daniel Ginchard now gets past Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Not too sure if Ebrich let him through, but might have decided to do that as a part of sportsman's etiquette. Vishal Patel, the only driver so far to have a penalty, now battling with Itmar Yativ for P9 as more drivers coming to the pits. Thomas will be repairing damage. Norton now in the pits in the Alpine. There's Oscar Saristo being hustled by Tanel Kasisalu. Kasisalu looking up the inside, going through into the next corner. That will be the left-hander at 5. And Kasisalu powers past, keeps it planted to the outside. Saristo thinks otherwise and darts the Alpine up the inside of that car. And they are side by side going into turn 6. Saristo will have the racing line and gets in front of the Aston Martin. Nice work there by Oscar Saristo. Not exactly the most powerful car, but in many respects it still is very, very, very happy when it's going through the corners, like here at the corkscrew. Back to Patel as now that was a moment for one car just up ahead, and that is, now I didn't quite catch who that was, as Thomas, Norton and Walden in the pits. That must have been an Alpine, I believe. That might have been a Janar Titus, as Vishal Patel fighting for dear life, as Alex Johnston now ahead of Luke Whitehead. Marcus Little in the meantime has managed to get up and away from the two behind. So Thomas is repairing a considerable amount of damage. That Aston Martin still in pit lane. Well, now he's exiting pit lane. So Thomas now will have a freshly repaired Aston Martin and a fresh set of boots. Now he can push like crazy. Johnston gets banzaied up the inside by Whitehead, who runs out of road and nearly opens the door for Sheldon Scott Muscat. As it's definitely getting all for themselves, as now Thomas definitely coming into the firing line as Hackett fending off Jamsaran, as Patel now pits Yativ, and Kirsten also pits as well. Now there's been a drive-through given, and that is for Jan-Niklas Ebrich. I thought it might be the case. He gets a drive-through penalty on Nathan Thomas. So Jan-Niklas Ebrich will have to serve the drive-through if he hasn't pitted already. So he's going to have to make 2 pit stops, and that will put him out of contention for the victory here this evening. Alex Johnston now ahead of Luke Whitehead. Johnston messes up a bit going through the corkscrew. Around the outside of the exit through comes Luke Whitehead. This is really kicking up another gear. And you know what the funny thing is that Nathan Thomas, he's just watching the show. He's just he's hitting his braking points, he's hitting his apexes, he's turning in, rotating the car. And what the good thing is now, look at this from a perspective of the fact that Johnston's got a rear gunner. But Johnston now has a rear gunner because now Thomas is in front of Muscat. So the team numbers game will start to play in. There's now more drivers coming out of the pits. Ebrich has pitted for his drive-through as, someone's had a bit of a moment coming out of the pit lane and lost it coming through the inside of the Andretti hairpin. That looked to be an Aston Martin. There's Daniel Kasisalu up to 16th with Oskar Saristo from Finland still trying to close up as we go on board with the Lightspeed Esports driver from Finland. This car has a 1.8 litre flat 4 turbocharged engine, producing over around 230 brake horsepower. Haaland's the brakes. I think the road-going version of that just so happens to be Fernando Alonso's new company car for 2021, as he makes his Formula 1 return with the Alpine F1 team. And Luke Whitehead still sitting in second position with 18 minutes on the clock. Let's have a look at the gaps between the drivers as we fast approach the halfway point. So Littlewood has a lead of nearly 3 seconds ahead of Whitehead, with Johnson 9/10 of a second adrift of the number 3. Sheldon Scott Muscat a further 1.1 seconds adrift, with Daniel Ginchard rounding at the top 5. Then it's Nathan Mifsud ahead of Daniel Strumer. Jan-Niklas Ebrich has served his drive-through but not yet had his penalty, not yet had his pit stop. Dan Hackett and then Jamsaran running out the top 10. And Whitehead. Nathan Thomas really does not need to stick his oar in there, because the biggest thing is, well, he's let the door open well and truly there, battling away with Luke Whitehead, who now has Sheldon Scott Muscat in the number 14 Mercedes for close company. So because Nathan Thomas was trying to play rear gunner, he got into an impromptu battle with Luke Whitehead. The back end stepped out, Whitehead capitalised, then Muscat decided, and now we've got another drive-through penalty from race control. Ben Norton has a drive-through for an incident on the number 15. That is David Ohak in the Mercedes. So, Ben Norton having another Number 13 of Ohak, my apologies there. So Norton is the 15, Ohak is the number 13. So Norton will be deposed. And there is Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Good, sensible tactic there by the German. Deciding that he was going to... as soon as he knew that he had that drive-through, as Luke Whitehead pits from P3, the first of the leaders to blink, Ebrich decided to get his pit stops out of the way. So drive-through now showing on your screens for Ben Norton. Whitehead will come into the pit. Every single car must have a mandatory tyre change as part of the pit stop phase. As Janar Taitus up the inside, that looks to be of Itmar Yativ, and the Alpine gets its way past through the Andretti hairpin, but as he puts the power down, Titus, the back end starts to step out to the right hand side, but Yativ will be definitely chasing that Alpine down in the Mercedes, and gives the Estonian a tap from behind. That's a bit cheeky there, Itmar Yativ, I'm afraid. Sheldon Scott Muscat now battling away. We're on board. And that is Nathan Thomas, who's chasing him down. Now, Thomas is currently P18. And he's going to try and unlap himself round about now. Up towards the corkscrew. Thomas thinks better of it. So 15 minutes are pretty much done and dusted, as Hackett, Jamsran and Yaziunas now have pitted. So 15 minutes to go. Don't forget, you can get involved with us as more drivers heading into the pits. Ben Norton, stop go 30 for Dan Hackett for the first driver to speed in the pit lane, as Marcus Littlewood and Daniel Ginchard have now pitted. This means it hands the lead to Sheldon Scott Muscat, who's going on the very, very long straight. So Dan Hackett, oh, he's going to be kicking himself after that one. A pit stop, speed limit infringement, puts the number 5 into a stop go 30. As Janar Titus being closed in on by Kirsten from GT Omega RPM Esports. And the Mercedes takes the place. And Titus getting very out of shape. So Dan Hackett will have to serve that stop-go penalty in 3 laps. Otherwise, that penalty would be further increased. As there is Sheldon Scott Muscat. He's still got Nathan Thomas, who's like one of these little Yorkshire Terriers that just keeps on nipping at your ankles. And Thomas trying to go up the inside. He bangs door panels with Sheldon Scott Muscat. That was completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. I think Thomas could have just waited maybe until the end of the lap to go into the Andretti hairpin and then send it up the inside there. But I think Sheldon Scott Muscat isn't going to be too worried, as Marcus Littlewood apparently has got a drive-through. So Marcus Littlewood has got a drive-through according to race control. That's through the system software. So Marcus Littlewood, that could put him out of contention for the race victory tonight. And all the while, the track temperature is increasing. 30 degrees track temperature, 28 degrees air temperature. We have still got sunshine all the way through this race. The track is optimum. It is evolving. As there is Gergely Kunsabo, who, as a result of pitting early in the Alpine, is currently P9. But Jan-Niklas Ebrich closing him down in the BMW. This is for 9th place. And then Lagritson. So, as Hackett now serves his his stop go 30, Sheldon Scott Muscat and Daniel Stramer, the GT Omega RPM Esport drivers, now in the pits. So this will give the likes of Johnston, Whitehead and Ginchard a possible opportunity, as well as Nathan Mifsud, as there is Marcus Littlewood. So Littlewood is going to... He's got 3 laps to serve that drive-through. Now, there has been cases as now one of the cars comes out, and that looks to be possibly Adam Johnson. I think he might have jumped Luke Whitehead in the pit stop. Well, no, there's Muscat, and he now comes out behind Luke Whitehead, or will do very shortly, as both Whitehead and Johnson make their way out of the Andretti hairpin. So this is where it's all going to change. So Littlewood leading, has a drive-through to serve. Ohak, Lagritz and Saristo, they're currently in the pits. So Alex Johnston, when Marcus Littlewood serves this drive-through penalty, will be the leader of the field with just over 11 minutes remaining, depending on how long Marcus Littlewood keeps that gap, keeps himself in the lead. So your guess is as good as mine. There are so many drivers now that really could have an opportunity at the race victory this evening here on World Pro Racing. On board with Daniel Strumer in the number 2 GT Omega RPM Esports Mercedes AMG GT4, and that is one of the Aston Martins. Now, is that Kasisalu? That is Kasisalu, the Estonian, up into P8, and oh, they tangle, and Kasisalu gets the turnaround courtesy of Strumer, and Thomas goes up the inside. Oh, and straight away Ebrich and Saristo get compromised as a result of Strumer being turned around, and that nearly costed us up the and that was a move that was not going to happen there. Nathan Mirsud gets banzaied up the inside. Now, who on earth was that? Was that a late lunge? I'm wondering if that might have been, I'm not too sure. Was that Daniel Ginchard possibly? Not too sure, but it was definitely a PC boy's car. So 20 minutes down, 20 to go. There's Nathan Thomas. Johnson still fending off Whitehead. So this is for the de facto lead as they now make their way up into the corkscrew. Whitehead goes late on the brakes as Ohak and Yativ still battling away. This is over 18th position. Some battling all up and down the field as Johnson trying to go. Oh, moment for Whitehead. Johnson kept it round the outside. He then runs wide coming out of the corner. Oh my goodness me. More trials and tribulations, more twists and tails as now Littlewood serving his drive-through penalty as Johnson and Whitehead clash going out of turn 11. Sheldon Scott Muscat waiting in the wings. So the two leaders going up towards the Andretti hairpin 9 side by side. They're absolutely battling like a pair of petulant children as Muscat just waiting to see what unfolds in front of him. But this is where it could all make the difference as the two leaders clash. As Whitehead runs out Johnston wide, Muscat capitalises and gets an easy get-out-of-jail-free card as he takes a lot of curb there going through turn 3. And if they start battling really, really hard, this could give us the opportunity of maybe seeing Daniel Ginchard coming into the fray. So, 8.5 minutes still to go. There's Marcus Littlewood. He's rejoined in 6th position after serving his drive-through penalty. Gergely Kunsabo in an absolute scrabble. Daniel Strumer has pitted. That will drop down the order. He's going to drop out of the top 20. Whitehead ahead of Muscat. Muscat looking to force the issue. Johnston right at the back bumper and both twin exhausts of that Mercedes as they come through the corkscrew into Rainey's at turn 9. Not exactly. It's getting a bit hot and heated, and as they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But Luke Whitehead sucking up the pressure from both Sheldon Scott Muscat and Alex Johnson, and in the background I think I just spotted a lonely Daniel Ginchard. But if they're battling away, there is Dan Ginchard. Ebrich, now Ebrich gets a 10-second penalty for an incident with Gergely Kunsabo. So, yeah. So Jan-Niklas Ebrich gets a second time penalty, a total of 15 seconds. Where he's had a drive-through and a 10-second penalty. So not a great run for how Jan-Niklas Ebrich would have wanted to start his season here on World Pro Racing in 2021. But the battle at the front of the field, Whitehead, Muscat and Johnson still raging on. The fire of intensity still not abating as Kasisalu up the inside of Ebrich. And that is for P9. Kunsabo just behind the likes of, now that is, now someone's had a turnaround. That is Kirsten, I think, from GTR RPM Omega RPM Esports there. And it's the number 20 Mercedes. And that has dropped Kunsabo up to 14th. Whitehead goes deep onto the brakes into the corkscrew. Keeps Muscat at bay, not allowing number 14 Mercedes an opportunity to get past. 6.5 minutes still to go. Johnston starting to fade a little bit, but might get a second wind in the next 6 or so minutes to try and close on the drivers in front. And Ginchard is closing. Marcus Littlewood now getting past back marker traffic, which would have included the likes of Elbrecht and Liger, as soon as Kunsabo battling away with Yaziunas into the left-hander. And that will be at turn number 5, and Kunsabo staying in 14th at the minute has Jamsran, Yativ and Norton up ahead. But Whitehead still hanging on. Oh, now what happened there? Now he effectively let Muscat past, but I can see a bit of strategy call here. Now, if that was for an incident where he decided, I think that was a bit too much, he would have let, if he got an advantage in some way, shape or form, he would have allowed Sheldon Scott Muscat to get back past. But then you look at it from the other flip side of the coin. When you're being when you're the hunted, it's more difficult to keep yourself composed. Whereas if you're the hunter, it's a completely different proposition altogether. And one of the biggest things here is that Whitehead will be able to capitalise on a possible opportunity of getting past Sheldon Scott Muscat. And you can just see that he is the meat in the sandwich at the moment. You can see how close he is to the apex through turn 9 on Rainey's. Muscat keeping it sort of planted a bit piggy in the middle there as we go on to the bonnet cam of the Aston Martin, the number 3. Hard onto the brakes, down the gears, into T11. Tighter apex taken by Whitehead, which should allow him a good run coming out of the corner. But that Mercedes, oh! Moment there for Whitehead again. Now I'm wondering, is that a technical issue? That's the second time in one lap that Luke Whitehead has had major dramas. Major dramas on that particular occasion. Oscar Saristo now goes up the inside of Jan-Niklas Ebrich in the BMW, so the Finn takes 8th place. Let's not forget that Ebrich has a 10-second penalty that will be added to his race time after the checkered flag falls. So the biggest thing here is that Whitehead looks to be back up to speed. So now Whitehead won't be able to compete for the victory. Muscat now starting to stride away. His best lap time, did I just see that right? A 1:30 dead. My goodness me. Now Saristo coming under fire from Ebrich. He goes back up the inside of the Finn, going through turn 1. Oh, Johnston and Whitehead definitely at loggerheads right now as Mats Walden gets out of the way. They go into the corkscrew. Johnson and Whitehead, they're not done yet. That fight has been going on for so long. I think I've lost count of the amount of minutes, possibly at least 10. These two have been battling away. But Whitehead looking to go for the counter-offensive. Strumer gets a 10-second penalty for an incident on Cassisalu. Oh, that's a tangle there between Whitehead and Johnston. Johnston let the door open ever so slightly there. Whitehead trying to go up the inside. Johnston turned in. Now that's going to be a tough one. I can't really call that. It's heat at the moment. These two drivers looking to get one up on the other, get bragging rights and pride coming out of this race. As they now go into the left-hander at turn 3 before the next left-hander at turn 4. And whilst this is happening, I did say about Daniel Ginchard. He is in... Oh my goodness me. More dramas for Alex Johnston. And Daniel Ginchard was just waiting. He knew that something was going to happen. That's the karting mentality for you, that you wait and you bide your time. Daniel Ginchard has done exactly the right thing there. But I think there was a lot of door panel banging and rubbing between Messrs. Johnston and Whitehead. So Daniel Ginchard on course possibly for a podium, as we've got just 2 minutes remaining. So Muscat leading the way. He's profited whilst others, well, he's kept his head whilst others have lost theirs. So this time will be, if he's been running in the 130s, which he has been doing, happening in the mid-130s at the moment. After this, we'll have one more lap to go as Cassisalo makes a mistake and Saristo pounces up the inside. So with 1 minute and 37 seconds on the clock to go, Sheldon Scott Muscat now goes on to the penultimate lap of the GT4 at Laguna Seca casual race here on World Pro Racing. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook. So type into the search engine World Pro Racing. You'll find us every single time. So Sheldon Scott Muscat calmly now just bringing the car home. Ben Norton in 11th. Well, it was in 11th until Itmar Yativ had something to say, but then up the inside, Ben Norton definitely making Van Alpine look as feisty as humanly possible as they go into T11. Not long now until the end of the race, and it's been an absolute belter here on World Pro Racing. And a big thanks to the virtual recreation of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for providing us for one humdinger this evening. Sheldon Scott Muscat coming through Rainies for what will be the penultimate time. Into the right-hander at turn 10. And then turn 11, the left-hander. That dominating rumble of that Mercedes pushing Sheldon Scott Muscat across the line. Leaders now on the final lap. As the timer now hits 0. That is it after 30 minutes of GT4 casual racing with a mandatory tyre stop for all competitors. Kun Sabo got a knock from behind by the number 20 Mercedes of Kirsten. So that's definitely not what the Hungarian wanted. But then Ohak and the number 13 is closing on the number 20 as they're going up the hill. So the drivers have really been tested this evening. But Sheldon Scott Muscat, cool as a cucumber amidst the hot and humid conditions here at Laguna Seca in California. 31 degrees track temperature, an increase of 6 since free practice earlier on this evening. Comes out of the corkscrew for the final time. Into the left at Rainey's Curve at turn 9. 2 more corners to negotiate. And what a way. In just the first couple of weeks of 2021, it gives a good positive momentum carrying sign for GT Omega RPM Esports. And coming out of the final corner, turn 11, the number 14 of Sheldon Scott Muscat wins here at Laguna Seca in fine style. Brilliant job by Sheldon Scott Muscat. Daniel Ginchard will cross the line to take his first ever World Pro Racing podium in his second race, ahead of Alex Johnson, who hits the podium for, I think it's the second time in as many races. Nathan Mifsud, normally on the broadcast, epic job there, young man. The number 19 Mercedes crosses the line in P4. Marcus Littlewood could have been in contention for 2 for 2, but takes 5th place. Luke Whitehead takes 6th at the end of the race. Nathan Thomas in 7th. Jan-Niklas Ebrich showing in 8th, but depending on how far behind Oscar Saristo and Tanel Kasesalo will be, he could possibly be out of the top 10. Itmar Yativ, Ben Norton, Jamsran, Kirsten, Ohak, Jazionas round out the top 16 ahead of Titus, Kunsabo, Elbrecht and Leigritsen. But Sheldon Scott Muscat, I'm really looking forward to chatting to this guy, because I'm sure that he's grinning like the proverbial Cheshire cat at the wheel of his car and his simulator right now. But it is 2 different winners on casual racing action here on World Pro Racing. And yeah, great job by everybody that's raced with us this evening. We've had a few incidents, but the main thing is we do have a winner, and that winner is on your screen right now. So Marcus Littlewood took the victory at Zolder in GT3 last week, but this time it is Sheldon Scott Muscat from GT Omega RPM Esports. What a fantastic job. Hopefully we'll be getting our top 3 with us very, very shortly to have a chat with them. And you might be noticing something a bit different. Normally, well, as of last year, you would have seen my Twitter handle. No more. But you can still find me on the relevant social media channels if you so wish. A big thank you also once again to Gaming Malta, Melita, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX and AMD, our official partners here at World Pro Racing. So we're just waiting for a few people. I'm waiting for our winner to show up in just a couple of seconds time. But first things first, I'm going to speak to Alex Johnston. Alex, that was a crazy race, wasn't it?
It was indeed. It's more like a kart race than a car race, but yeah, it was.
Right, we seem to have a problem with Alex's Discord at the moment. It's gone a bit robotic on us at the moment, so we'll just wait for Alex. But in the meantime, Alex, I'll now go to Dan Ginchard. Dan, who I know very, very well. Dan, firstly, congratulations, a podium in your second race.
Yeah, it was a very strange race.
I think we're still having problems with.
Oh.
He was good. Okay, well, I can't. It seems like I have the issue at the moment, but we'll go firstly. I'm just going to just quickly sort out the setting here. But Alex, if you could just tell us about your race this evening, and congratulations on third place. The win was so close, wasn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very close win. It was a race packed full of battles. It was more like a kart race, like I said, than a car race. It was lots of battles on track, hard race, half an hour. But no, a really good performance from me, myself, and Dan Ginchard, and the whole team, to be honest. Thank you once again to Marcus for the setup. We've been working on it for a few days now, so it's really paid off. And yeah, it's really good for the whole team.
Well done, Alex. Congratulations this evening.
Thank you.
Dan Ginchard, a man. Well, we both know each other very, very well, and it's good to see you on the sim grid, the sim racing grid as well. Second race, second place here at Laguna Seca. You just waited and bided your time, didn't you?
Yeah. This is the first race that I've experienced pit stop, so it was a very new thing for me. So I didn't really capitalise on the fact that we had to do a pit stop. So I lost a bit of time to Sheldon. Well done to him. Well done to Alex. It was very unfortunate for Marcus, who got a drive through. But yeah, I'm learning every race. I'm getting faster, getting more consistent, and I just want to thank the whole team for all the effort they've put in for the last few days working on this setup, and hopefully we'll repeat on Friday at Kailami for the Pro Series.
Yes, indeed. That's coming up this coming Friday. So normally behind engineering strategy, but now a proven podium winner. Well done, Dan. Congratulations and good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
And we'll be speaking now to Sheldon Scott Muscat. Sheldon, what a way to start your season. A victory here at Laguna Seca. Whilst everyone else lost their heads, you were keeping yours. Well done tonight.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, thanks, Alex. I don't know exactly what happened to Luke. I think he lost. I think he had disconnection with the wheel. It's very unfortunate. I think we were going to have a very nice battle there for the lead. But yeah, nice battles throughout the race, and this track, I mean, it's a very nice track with the GT4 as well. And I went for a stable setup tonight, so it wasn't as fast. Like I couldn't do like under 1 minute 30, but it was stable and very consistent throughout the race. So I mean that's what gave me the race win, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it was a real shame because there was an issue. I'd like to speak to Luke Whitehead about this because he was definitely on the possibility of having, you and he had battled really hard along with Alex as well. I really would like to get a word with him, but, at the end of the day, it's one of those things that we could have... we could have had a really good battle there, Sheldon, and it was a shame that we were sort of suddenly deprived of it, weren't we?
Yeah, indeed. I saw him stopping, and I thought maybe he ran out of fuel, but no, I mean, his wheel disconnected. So that's it from my end. Before I leave, I would like to thank my sponsors of Team GT Omega RPM Esports, GT Omega Racing, Gaming Malta, HyperX, and World Pro Racing for these wonderful events. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, Sheldon. I'm trying to see if we can get Luke into the call, but I don't know if we're going to have time. Let's see if we can do that. We will be going to highlights very shortly after we've concluded the broadcast here. A big thank you to everyone watching on TVM Sport in Malta, motorsport.tv, also our good friends and partners at Esports Television. We can't do this without the support of our loyal sponsors and partners, Gaming Malta, Melita, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, where we're all gamers, and AMD. I'm going to just try and see. I've just tried to see if we could get Luke in, but it looks like we might be running out of time. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on World Pro Racing for the GT4 casual race at Laguna Seca. Join Jake and Kieran on. Oh, hang on a second. Looks like we might be getting him very shortly. So. Yeah, so we're going to try and get Luke into the call, if we can. So bear with me. Sorry about this. The wonders of modern technology, trying to get... So, yeah, it looks like we have got him. Luke Whitehead. Such a shame, young man. Did you have an issue with steering wheel or pedals during the race? Because, like, literally within a lap, there were two instances where you were battling with both Alex and Sheldon, and literally I saw that the Aston Martin didn't have any pickup at all. I didn't know whether it was steering wheel or pedals related. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, to be honest. Gutted isn't really the word. Obviously the pace was good, qualifying went really well, and then just the wheel. Basically, I've got an issue with the wheel. I'm not sure what it is. It keeps disconnecting, and whenever it disconnects and reconnects, I can't shift gear. Until the end of the lap and the end of the race, where it just got stuck in second gear. So not only did I lose the podium, I also lost sixth place at the end and came seventh. So, which was really annoying because given that I was leading in the early stages and was actually breaking away, and then obviously the wheel messed me up there. Got back into the leading position after Marcus got a drive through, and then happened again. And then on the last lap it went kaput completely. So gutted really. But I felt like I drove well up until that point. Getting past all the back markers who, a couple of back markers were trying to be a bit of a pain. To help out their teammates. But it happens. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. But on to the next one. Hopefully, I can get it fixed by Friday.
And is there anybody in particular that you'd like to thank as well, Luke, for their consistent support of your sim racing efforts?
Well, I'd like to thank OBP Esports first of all. I used their pedals and they actually failed going into last week, and they got them back to me fixed or got a new set within 2 days, which is ridiculous. They've honestly been such a good help. Their product is amazing, and I honestly can't thank them enough. Thanks to my amazing manager Robert Watherson for always doing an awesome job. Honestly, I don't know where I'd be without him. And just everyone who's tuned in to watch me as well. Couldn't thank you guys enough.
Well, Luke, let's see you back in action for the second round of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series this coming Friday at Kyle Army. All the very best of luck.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, one last thing. Well done, Sheldon. You drove an awesome race, mate.
That's the side. That's the side of a true sportsman. Good on you, Luke. Well said, my friend. Well said.
Yeah.
So that's really it.
Well.
He deserved the win, but yeah, I think these things happen. He had very good pace, especially in qualifying. Amazing pace.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you.
As always.
Thanks,
See you at the Sprint Cup this Friday.
You too, mate.
Well, that concludes the show here on World Pro Racing on Tuesday evening for our first GT4 casual race at Laguna Seca. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. A big thank you to our sponsors and partners here at World Pro Racing, Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega, HyperX, AMD, and this stream has been powered by Melita. A big thank you also to you all watching on the relevant World Pro Racing Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook streams. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and also, if you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up for us, please. It helps the channel ever so much on a regular basis. A big thank you to our viewers on TVM Sport in Malta, motorsport.tv and esports.tv. My name's Alex Goldschmidt signing off for now. I'll see you in a week's time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and good night. Highlights coming up very shortly.